Hamilton. Shaking up a driver grid that has stayed the same for 2 years now. We've had next to no silly seasons, which has sucked a little bit, but it's also been quite a refreshing break because some of it gets a little bit, silly, I guess. But yeah, massive move. He's doing the opposite to what Schumacher did, going from Ferrari, to retirement, but then coming back and going to Mercedes. Undoubtedly helped Mercedes at the time to build on what they are today. And I'm sure someone with the experience of Hamilton will do exactly the same for Ferrari now. It is a fantastic advantage for Ferrari to have someone this knowledgeable, experienced, team motivational, and also for they don't say it, but their number one driver, Leclerc, it's going to be fantastic for him to gain that experience from Hamilton. What does this mean for Leclerc? Well, he's not number one anymore from 2025. That's for sure. They've got to have promised Hamilton that they've got something in the pipeline for the regulation changes in 2026, so he can settle in the team for a year, then push forward with them from there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. With a decent car under them, I think it's really going to prove how good Leclerc is next to Hamilton and keeping pace with him. I don't think he will keep up with him, but he will keep pace with him and he will stick very close to him. So this does mean that Mercedes need to find a second driver, and I have some thoughts on it. It's only my opinions and guesswork, but obviously George Russell, they've put tons and tons of money and time into him. He's going to be the number one driver regardless. Now, I know there's some history there, but I could honestly see, now that Sainz is leaving Ferrari, there's been a lot of speculation about him going to a stake F1 team, or whatever they're called, it's Sauber, who in 2026 is lined up to become Audi. So him going to Audi as their number one driver, possibly Zhou staying, which means Bottas, I think, could potentially go back as a safe pair of hands for Mercedes as a second driver. The only problem is him and George Russell have history. I think they'd get over it. They're both really nice people. At least that's how they come across. I think they would make a fantastic pairing, but I do think it would be a bitter pill for Bottas to swallow being a number two again, especially to George Russell. So 2025, final year, 2026 is going to be the big one because there'll be some more hefty regulation changes, not as big as we saw before with this new era of F1 car, but you're going to have Hamilton and Leclerc, two phenomenal drivers in a Ferrari that is hopefully going to be somewhere in the ballpark of catching up with Red Bull, especially after their latest escapades, overspending on the budget and having less time to advance their car in the current season. So that's going to be Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc fighting for driver and constructors championship versus Mercedes, because Mercedes will come back. They've got James Allison. He's one of the greatest car designers on that grid, one of two, second only to Adrian Newey. But yeah, he's back in the seat now, and he's steering the ship. So got rid of that stupid zero side pods design, which is the best move they've made so far. So yeah, that's going to be Mercedes versus Ferrari, and three phenomenal drivers, a fourth in Valtteri Bottas, who's still a very good driver and a very, like I said, safe pair of hands. Toto Wolff trusts him. Toto Wolff's extended to 2027, I think, in his current contract, which was meant to be a year after Hamilton. I think he'll be sticking around for just the ability to prove, or try and prove, Hamilton wrong and that he should have stayed. I don't think there'll be masses of love lost there between the pair of them, but they are quite good friends from the outside looking in. So Red Bull, obviously still very dominant. I think they're going to be dominant this season. I think the only people who are going to come close to them this season are a resurgent McLaren, provided they don't do their usual and just botch the car straight away. So that means 2025 and 2026 especially has the potential for 4 fantastic drivers as number ones. That in Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari, George Russell at Mercedes, Max Verstappen at Red Bull, and Lando Norris at McLaren. All 4 of them are going to be going up against each other possibly, especially if they can all sort their cars out and they're roughly within the same threshold of each other. That is a season that I would want to watch 100%. That will be phenomenal. That will be what Formula One's meant to be, having that many players in the mix. And then on top of that, Ferrari's still got Charles Leclerc. He's going to be right up there with them all. Bottas will be in the mix at the back with Perez. Piastri's really surprised me. I think Piastri is fantastic. After his maiden season, it's unbelievable. I think Red Bull's hand will be forced to now put Daniel Ricciardo back in the car, just because I think that he will, provided they can keep him in line and stop him from battling Max too hard, because he will have a point to prove. I think that's the way forward for them, to have 2 stronger drivers in there. I love Sergio Perez. I think he's brilliant, but he's just really struggling with the meat grinder that is Red Bull, and I don't blame him. A lot of people do struggle. It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, what about the rest of the grid? You've got Haas with loads of changes at the moment. Alpine just seem to be absolutely nowhere. I mean, Sauber are just ticking over until 2026 when Audi take over. It's just Williams. I mean, I'd like to see Albon in a better team. I think he's got a lot that he could give. But yeah, so potentially at the front, I think the people fighting it out will be Leclerc, Hamilton, Ferrari, George Russell at Mercedes, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo with Red Bull, and Lando Norris and Piastri for McLaren. I don't think anyone else is going to come up to the top and rise up that high until the 2026 regs, but 2025 is shaping up to be a phenomenal season. I'm excited for this year. I really do hope that McLaren have sorted their lives out and they continue the progression that they brought on from last year. That way we can have a really good season of Max v Norris, and someone else versus Piastri while Sergio's bowling around at the back of the grid because he's still having a nightmare. It'll be a very good season. Unfortunately, it's biased my side because I'm a Norris and McLaren fan. But I respect all of them on that grid. I'm excited thinking about 2026 now and 2025. It's going to be great to see Lewis Hamilton in red. It's a real surprise. It is and it isn't. Everyone sort of saw it coming. Everyone sort of thought it would never happen. But yeah, welcomed. That's going to be brilliant. So yeah, let's see how it goes, and can't wait for Bahrain testing. Until next time, folks.